Are you yearning to wake up each morning and ignite a new meaning and purpose in life and beyond? Welcome, everyone. I'm Michael McGinnis, an award-winning author, speaker, and educator on human potential, and your host on You Can Do It, Inspiring Growth, Igniting Potential. Life presents us with challenges that serve as catalysts for growth. The pivotal question is, how do we respond to these challenges? Or better yet, opportunities. Do we adopt a victim mindset or rise to become victors? Our goal here is to guide and inspire you to master the most amazing journey you have, your life. You Can Do It starts now. Hey everybody, Michael McGinnis here with You Can Do It, Inspiring Growth, Igniting Potential. Right, our focus here is on you, helping you to become your full potential in this life, right? That's a choice. That's your choice. And if that's your choice, and I hope that is, we're here to support you. And remember, in order to master life, you've got to master growth, right? It's going to be the changes that we make within ourselves that are the things that are going to make us the person that we want to be. And that's going to include new values and beliefs and ultimately our behaviors to really be able to become that person and act in a manner that supports that person. And all of that is change. Change, as we know, doesn't come easy. But for those that really want this and persevere, it is the greatest gift that we give ourselves. Well, today, our focus is still on the personal growth stage. And in the personal growth stage, as you see by the image here, we've seen that all the way through this process. It's really about getting our own house in order. And you can see it starts off, it's really focusing on the physical and mental and emotional. Well, today we're really going to zoom in on the mental and emotional part, right? And along with that is going to be the self-awareness piece and emotional intelligence, because these are things that are all a part of how we develop the courage, the stamina, the healthy beliefs that really, again, make us to be the person that we want to be and consistent with where we want to go in life, ultimately achieving our full potential. Well, today it's a great honor. I've got Rachel Carew here, a professional and personal development coach, speaker, author. And her site, by the way, and you'll see that constantly on the bottom of her image, is steppingintomore.com. And it's going to really relate to these topics of mental fitness overall, because these are the things, and specifically in that is going to be this whole challenge of the negative self-talk that we have. And I don't know about you, but that's been something that's plagued me throughout much of my life. I still deal with it, but I've been continually learning how to really be able to minimize that voice, get it out of the way, because it does nothing than hold us back. Well, Rachel is really going to go into length. She's got a great capability, technique, and structure. She's going to be talking about that. It's really referred to cultivate mental fitness by utilizing positive intelligence. And she has a framework for this, right? We've talked about frameworks. They're really important. They give us structure. And she refers to it as positive intelligence. So without further ado, Rachel, welcome. How are you today? And why don't you share a little bit?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here. So I'll share a little bit about myself and what brought me to this topic of mental fitness and positive intelligence. And my first passion has always been around self-expressing creatively, primarily through singing and performing. And that was my dream until it was taken away from me at the tender age of 18 after going to acting school and being told, no, you're not going into our second year program. You should consider other careers. And at the time, I didn't know that I was a perfectionist. And I thought, I must suck at this. So I turned my back on my passion for over 20 years. And anytime I would attempt to sing, my arms would be numb at my side. until I was in a car accident on my way to facilitate a work-life balance workshop when my life was not so balanced. And while in physical therapy, I saw a flyer for a workshop called Joy of Singing. That is what I'd been craving my entire life. And I took that workshop, and that was the beginning of me really stepping into more and reclaiming my passion.
Wow, thank you very much for sharing that. I really love the fact that you brought in, the story here, and typical of for so many people are these wake up calls. And you talked about that being the accident, and we get those things, and we typically think as, why did I experience that? Well, it's as I look back at my past now, I look at it in a whole different manner. Is these things that I considered tragic and bad and why me were all things that really helped me in my life. Now, again, that's a big pill to swallow for a lot of people to do that. I know we'll venture into discussions more on that when we get into the enlightenment stage, and it relates to these kinds of beliefs and the awareness that there's a real meaning to life. And part of that is that what happens to us maybe isn't all that bad. Maybe it's really just helping us on our way, and look at where it got you. So, yes, mental fitness. Tell me a little bit more about that in the program.
Yes, and that is such a beautiful transition, what you just shared into the topic of mental fitness, because mental fitness is all about how do we approach life in a more positive way versus getting sucked into the negativity of what we call our judge and our saboteurs. And so I'd love to share a little bit more about this framework, and you'll see the slide up there to help guide us through here. So as I mentioned, part of the human condition is that each of us has a judge and 9 accomplice saboteurs. And what I mean by the judge is the judge judges 3 things. Number 1, it judges ourselves, it judges others, and it judges situations. Meaning we tell ourselves, I can't be happy till I get X, whatever that X is for you. And then when we get X, we might celebrate for 5 minutes, and then that voice is back. Oh no, you can't be happy. You can't be happy till you get the next thing. And that judge will never be satisfied. So that is our judge. And then we have these accomplice saboteurs, which are basically strengths overdone or misapplied. So just as an example, one of the saboteurs that aligns with perfectionism, and I am a recovering perfectionist, is the stickler. And when I'm on sort of the strength side of the stickler and things are flowing for me, I get a lot of things done. I have great attention to detail. I'm at peace. But the minute I start hearing voices like, oh my God, you made a mistake. What are people going to think about you? Or, oh, you're not approaching this at 130%. Everything needs to be just perfect. Ooh, now my saboteur's in the house. And when we're emotionally triggered, our judge and our saboteurs align, and whatever they're telling us in that moment is a lie. It's an absolute lie. But we are so conditioned to listening to those negative tapes, sort of like the record, right? And the groove. We've been playing that groove for so long that it's really deep that we don't even realize, oh, these are just aspects of who I am, but they're not really core to who I am. And what is core to who we are is our sage on the right-hand side of the slide. And the sage, to your point, the ultimate sage perspective is that in any situation or circumstance, there is an opportunity for growth, learning, a gift. And even with my car accident, as soon as I started flipping my mental mindset to, what am I supposed to be learning here? What am I supposed to be taking away? That changed everything for me. So our sage is truly who we are at our core. We also have what are called 5 sage superpowers that allow us to show up in a more positive way, including empathy, curiosity, innovation, knowing what really matters to us and navigating. and activating, knowing how to take laser focused vision and action without being distracted by either outside forces or our own internal sources with our judge and saboteurs. So those are the two pillars of this framework. And the way we know if we're in one or another is our feelings. You know, if things are flowing with ease, I'm in my sage. If I'm experiencing negativity, fear, shame, judgment, ding, 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 I'm in my judge and one or more of these saboteurs. And that's an alert to let me know, okay, I'm lying to myself right now. How then can I access my sage? So before I explain that, I know I shared a lot, so I'm going to pause and see what thoughts or questions you have.
Wow. No, I really like that. You put some terminology there, to stuff that I've been very familiar with throughout so much of my life. And to me, as you talked about things like the saboteur, is that to me, that's what my voice was, right? It was is going through the trauma and experience and being told every day that, Mike, you're never going to amount to anything. Well, I never realized until later in life how that became part of me, that aspect of me, right? And it wasn't until I realized, that I'd formed this unhealthy belief, because that's what would be my saboteur in my own. Oh, I'll never amount to. I'm not going to be able to do this. I won't do it. Oh, I probably screwed up. Are these kinds of voices, and I look forward to hearing about how you go about the correcting these things here too, and maybe we can touch on that. But yeah, it's really good, and I loved also the fact is that how do you know when these things are going on? And you said our feelings. And that's one of the core learnings I've learned along the way is that we're emotional beings. And it's our feelings that we can really help to define where we stand. Anything that's pain and suffering, for the vast majority of them, or as you said, they're lies. They're based on lies, they're former experiences where we form these unhealthy beliefs. But yet we carry that baggage along, and we keep that perception over our eyes. And so we see the world through these lens. And so it's fantastic that you're really confronting this, because this is a topic that I know I've dealt with throughout my whole life, and I still do. I'm much better with it because I've utilized tools and techniques to do that, to improve upon it. But yeah, I mean, like you said, they're an aspect of us that we've got to be able to be aware of, self-awareness, and then utilizing a tool and structure. And you're starting to put this structure together, which sounds terrific. It's a method to be able to help correct or stop this saboteur that you talked about.
Yeah, awesome. And yes, to your point, this framework, which by the way was created by Shirzad Chamine, who
Hmm.
is a New York Times bestselling author, used to be a professor at Stanford, really gets to understand that negativity and those not so pretty feelings serve a purpose. They serve as a pain alert. So if you think of us as humans putting our hand on a hot stove, you'd probably want to experience pain so that you would take your hand off the stove as quickly as possible. But what we tend to do as humans when we have those not so pretty feelings is we keep our hand on the hot stove and we keep ruminating and ruminating. And now we're strengthening those neural synapses to keep going to that place. So it really takes practice and quite a bit of intentionality to start weakening those saboteur muscles and to start building what are called our self-command muscles so that we can access our sage. And that really is the third pillar of this framework, is now that we know about the judge and saboteurs and our sage, all right, how do we quiet down the judge and saboteurs? Not get rid of them, because that's part of the human condition. But how do we quiet them down and use them as an alert system so that we know, oh, I'm getting on that hamster wheel. How can I stop that pattern so that I can now get to a more neutral place and access my sage? And one highly impactful way to do so are with what we call PQ reps. Positive quotient reps. Think of going to the gym instead of lifting weights. This is mental fitness. And these are short sensory activities, whether it be touch, sound, smell, any sense that allows us to tune into the body, because our body is really the only part of us that's present. And unfortunately, we tend to ignore many clues and signs of the body until we're in pain. So this helps to break that pattern of the negativity so that we can get to a more neutral place and be able then to ask, okay, what is the sage perspective here? What can I learn from this? Which of these 5 sage superpowers might really apply to this situation so that I can make more of a conscious choice in how I want to show up real time in the moment, which is so powerful.
Wow, thank you for very much for sharing that. I'm intrigued with this PQ rep element here because what I found is that initially when I was aware of something, I wanted to just stop it, say stop it, but yet what I realized is that doesn't work. It has a power. After all, it's lived in my body, in my mind for all of these years, and it's got a power. So I needed to be able to do some structure to it. And it sounds like a structure that I'd love to hear more about this. And I really love the word sage. Is that because it really, to me, it sort of relates to, I think of this higher self, right? There's this aspect of us that really does have an ability to be able to see us. And when we learn how to get in touch with it and hence create self-awareness, right? We begin to be able to recognize these moments and then apply a structure. And you're putting a structure to this, which is, to me, I'm an educator, trainer throughout my whole life and career for the most part. And the key to really being able to learn anything is repetition, but a framework, a structure. So it sounds like that's what you bring to the table. It sounds like a very well validated technique and structure that you've got in here. So tell me more about the PQ reps.
Absolutely. And if you're open to it, I'd love to give you a personal experience and your
Ooh,
listeners an experience,
yeah.
okay, of the PQ reps.
Yes.
Yeah, so basically, I'll take you through a short inner journey, tuning into a few of our different senses. And this is sort of like a buffet of the senses to give you some ideas about how you can utilize these PQ reps. Awesome. So if you're comfortable, Michael, I'll invite you to close your eyes and I'm going to do the same. And let's just start by taking a nice slow inhale through the nose, feeling the air enter your belly, your ribs, and your chest. And in this first round of breath, feel free to exhale through the mouth. You could sigh it out, move around, just feeling yourself become more aware. We'll take another slow round of breath in through the nose, feeling that 360 expansion throughout the body, and slowly exhaling through the nose. And as you continue to breathe out your own natural rhythm, I invite you to take 2 fingertips and to rub them together with such attention that you feel the ridges of each fingertip, perhaps noticing different sensation, texture, temperature. Keep breathing. And as thoughts come up, and they will, with compassion, bring yourself back to the sensation of those 2 fingers touching each other. Great. Now I invite you to take the palm of one hand and to hold it up, and then to take the opposite hand and to slowly move your fingers down the fingers and palms of the opposite hand, once again tuning in to the sensation of touch and noticing all the sensations that come up as we slowly move one hand down the other. And you could do that a few times. Keep breathing. Fantastic. And now you can put your hand down, and I invite you to tune in to the farthest away sound that you can hear. Whatever sound is in your environment. And now I invite you to tune in to the closest sound you can hear. If you haven't already tuned in to the sound of your breath, I invite you to do so now. Great. So with that, I invite you to take a couple more rounds of breath on your own, feeling connected, grounded, at ease. And when you are ready, you can open your eyes. So how was that for you, Michael?
Wow. I really like that. Because I've developed and worked a lot on self-awareness, what I realized is how great a self-awareness activity this was. Um, when you put an emphasis on something just you would think basic, but then in the rubbing of the fingers so they're together, the palms, and you put a focus on the texture and things. I mean, first of all, it's there, but second of all, it's great because it really distracts you, and that's the part that I really like, and I like how even uh, in the process here, you refer to the closest sound. One of my favorite meditations has you listening to your breath, because that it forces now the mind to begin to start focusing on something very tactile, and that distracts you from what's going on. I love it, and it seems like something too that, correct me if I'm wrong, that you could really do anywhere, right? I don't need a product or something like that to do, or a video. I really could do this almost any place.
Absolutely. And you bring up such important points. One is that pattern interrupt that you mentioned. And because what our saboteurs and judge would do would have us think through it. And all that does is just keep us on the hamster wheel. So sometimes literally, as I, notice my judge and saboteurs, I will literally in my head just scream, "It's a lie." So that way I'm like, okay, if I'm able to, I'll set my timer even for just 2 minutes. Research shows with as little as 10 seconds on an MRI, it starts to weaken the regions of the PQ, the saboteurs and the judge, which are primarily the amygdala, and to strengthen our sage, which is primarily our prefrontal cortex. So it is a wonderful pattern interrupt. And yes, you can use this real time. So I'm a meditator as well. And when we meditate, we usually have these pristine conditions, right? So whether it's candlelight or music or whatever the thing is, all well and good. The challenge, though, is in the moment when we are emotionally triggered, we can't recreate those things. So if we are proactively doing PQ reps about 15 minutes a day, then we can build our self-command muscle enough to know in the moment when we're triggered, all right, something's up. Let me either start rubbing my fingers together. Let me visually look at what's around me. Maybe I'll do a visual PQ rep on the person that I'm triggered by and really start to get curious. Wow, I never really noticed Michael's eye color before or hair color. And you would have no idea that I'm doing a PQ rep. So it's simple and highly impactful in cultivating our ability to deal with our triggers in the moment. And
Oh,
by the way, you are
outstanding.
triggering me.
I think we all do, right? We all naturally push each other's buttons knowingly or unknowingly, right? And just even in life itself. And what I like is what you just said is you could be in a meeting, right? You could be any place. So where there's an event behind the car wheel, and I wouldn't be shutting my eyes at that point. Maybe I would want to. In some cases, But, just to be able to again apply something, oh, I'm going to focus on looking at something different or whatever, and to be able to get that distraction.
Yes, and once you tune into this, there's so many ways to do PQ reps. And actually, if any of your listeners want to reach out, I'd be happy to share a flyer that gives a lot of different techniques. I mean, it's as simple as walking and visually noticing what's around you, washing your hands and really feeling the warm water and lather. That's a PQ rep. So there's so many different ways to actually tune into this. And it's just an incredible practice to really help weaken the judge and saboteur muscle.
Excellent. This has been fantastic. And with a few minutes that we have left, is tell a little bit more about the program. And one of the things you had mentioned to me is that listeners can get 10% off. If you just want to provide a little overview of it in a couple of minutes, and then just tell them what steps to do to be able to get that discount, that'd be awesome.
I'm delighted to do that. Yes, my colleague and I are offering an 8-week group coaching program on the positive intelligence framework. We do this a few times a year, and our next one's coming up August 15th, so just around the bend. We only take 4 people. It's a very intimate experience where you get the Positive Intelligence New York Times bestselling book. You also take a saboteur assessment. So you start to see which of your saboteurs tend to really activate you. And then each week you tune into the app. And the app actually has, first of all, a theme of the week with a 1-hour video from Shirzad Chamine, the creator of this tool. And it also has guided PQ reps, all different types, and they really gamify it. So you can literally see how charged your self-command muscle is. There's a theme for each day. So it's very clever in the way it's designed. And then we meet as a group once a week to really unpack the theme of the week. So you have support and camaraderie. There is also a channel where we communicate with each other through the app. And as part of the program too, you can have a 30-minute one-on-one coaching session to really help deepen your learning with either myself or my wonderful colleague. So this is the program in a nutshell, and you'll see a link to register for the program. And if you put the words in connect, then you will receive that 10% discount.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Thank you for offering them that, and certainly would encourage it, because as an educator, what I found is that we could change just by simply like reading a book or listening to this, and some people are successful in making the changes, but real change comes much more efficiently and effectively when we surround it with the support, with the guidance, with the materials, to really be able to help an individual through the process. And it sounds like you really do that, along with this week over week ability to be able to connect and get support from each other. Those are great ingredients that really help to foster and promote change.
Yes, and as you referenced earlier too, that consistency, so that we're really cultivating a habit that can stick with us. And it's not like flipping a switch. It takes that intentionality.
Excellent. Well, this is terrific. Thank you so much, Rachel, for your time and sharing this. And to audiences, I hope this is something that you pick up these little elements of our shows that you can go and apply. And here's things that you could go ahead and apply. And I imagine that, if I ask the question, how many of you deal with the saboteurs and the judge, probably going to be a lot of shaking heads out there too. And so it's obviously something very pertinent and very much relates to our growth. The more we can clean our house by cleaning out, this mind share that is negative in nature and holds us back. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. It's all about you. Here's more elements to be able to help you on your journey. So be sure to come back and visit us on the second and fourth Friday of every month at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, 12:30 Pacific time. We're going to continue to focus on the personal growth stage, right? We've got to be able to get our own house in order before we can go out there. And number two, pursue our whole concept of who we are and our full potential, right? Because otherwise these things are going to hold us back, right? And then the other element is to be able to really ultimately move to our next conversations on self-discovery and enlightenment, right? And that's where some of you have already probably had some experience, but again, they're not going to overshadow our personal growth if we don't do it. It's going to, again, continue to hold us back. So great having you all on board. Rachel, thank you so much for your time. I hope everybody, you take advantage of our workshop. I love the fact that it's only 4, how intimate that is. That's awesome. Thank you again, everybody. Have a great day and love you all. I'm Michael McGinnis, and you've been listening to You Can Do It, Inspiring Growth, Igniting Potential. Tune in every second and fourth Friday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific Time on Transformation Talk Radio. As a recognized educator, author, and speaker on human potential, let's learn together how to make the most out of this life and to put a ding in your universe. This is the incredible journey of personal and spiritual growth, self-discovery, and enlightenment. For more information, visit growhumanpotential.com.